Welcome to the very first episode of Arcade Parlor. We gotta do that again, guys. Ready?
Okay, fine.
Ready?
Arcade Parlor.
All right. Well, one of these days we'll get it. Okay, we'll get it. I am your host, Pancho Taco. I am also joined by my co-hosts here, Ashley Florida.
Hello, guys.
And Bleachy B.
Hi. What's up? Hello.
How are you guys doing?
Hanging in there, Pancho. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Ashley, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I think a lot of people know you who are listening to this, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Pancho. I would love to. I'm Ashley Florida. I currently reside in Rhode Island. I have two rescue dogs, Lucy and Daisy, who are my life. I'm a very fun insurance manager by day and a gamer by night. And I'm a big collector of vinyl and video game consoles.
How many vinyls do you have?
Right now, I'm skirting on 900 vinyls. But again, I do have my dad's vinyls from when he was a DJ in the 70s and 80s. So that makes up about 400 of them.
Do you store those at your place?
I have all of them at my place right now. They take up most of the room in my apartment.
Wow. This lore right here. We're learning lore, baby. And so you have 900 vinyls, but you only have like 10 DVDs. That's
correct. I think last time I counted, I have 17 DVDs and a couple VHSs from back in the day.
Man, 17 DVDs. Wow, how impressive.
I know.
I know one time we went through guessing what movies you had. I think that'd be another fun thing we should do one day.
We should definitely.
I don't remember what they are, but it's only what 17 movies has Ashley Florida deemed movies to own.
Worthy movies for them to be one of the 17 on my shelf.
Exactly. Bleachy.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Just fine. Love to hear it. Why don't you tell us about yourself?
Okay, well, I'm probably not as interesting as Ashley Florida here, or even Pancho Taco, but I'm still pretty cool. Okay, I'm 19 years old, which means I do have the most experience in the room, definitely the most mature. I currently reside in Utah, kind of a cool place. If you're like into outdoorsy things like that. I don't know. I've been playing video games the majority of my life since the womb, almost. Maybe give or take 6 or 7 years. You know. It's been a fun ride. Right now, I've been doing a lot of streaming on Twitch.tv. I doubt any of you listening have heard of that, but it's a nice side hobby of mine.
Cool, that's awesome. How does one game from the womb? That's a new one.
Okay, well, it's kind of strange. You gotta get an adapter for the umbilical cord or something like that. It doesn't really always line up correctly, but my mom was able to get it to work.
Okay, we're already off to a weird start. I like this.
You're the one who asked.
That is, I guess I was asking for it. Okay, well, I'm Pancho Taco. I am a dad. Well, I'm a husband foremost. How's that? And then a dad. Secondly. I'll be the wholesome one right now, I guess. I also do a lot of streaming on Twitch. We'll get to that later, of course. But I am I live in Michigan. All my life, I was born here. I was born like 5 miles from where I reside right now. I've only ever lived like 5 miles from where I was born my entire life.
Hometown boy.
Yeah, hometown. So I live in Michigan. It's not a lot to do around where I live, though. I feel like there is a lot, but I don't know. I just don't do it. I'd rather just sit at home and watch, I don't know, Cobra Kai or something like that.
Talk about
You're so into Cobra Kai right now.
Oh, dude, the new season just dropped. Dude, last night I was up to like 3 in the morning watching Cobra Kai. It was so good. I like the new season. I like the new season. It's great. It's great.
How many seasons do they have of that show?
We're on season 5 now.
Ooh.
They actually, and they pump that show out fast. Like they pump it out in less than a year. You're getting a new season, and they're all like the same quality, in my opinion. Like it hasn't really dropped, but you have to like the Karate Kid universe, I guess, to enjoy it.
I saw the first one.
The first one's classic.
Not one of my DVDs though.
So it was not deemed a purchase from you.
Not DVD worthy, no.
Cross it off the list.
All right. So we've gone around the room. We've all said hello, and hello also to our listeners. Thank you for tuning in to this brand new podcast on the block, Arcade Parlor. Yeah. Arcade Parlor. You can find us pretty much. Go to arcadeparlorcast.com right now. Arcadeparlorcast.com. That will take you to a landing page that has all of our social medias, a Discord invite, as well as a link to our podcast. And again, our podcast can be found on your favorite platform of choice. And while you're there, drop us a 5-star rating. Okay?
Subscribe for free.
This is a 5-star podcast, as you can tell already.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously. So one thing we also discussed here. Well, let's talk about Arcade Parlor for a second here.
Yeah.
So I had this vision to create a podcast. I don't know, almost like probably a year ago. It's something I've wanted to do for a while. Never really pursued it. Never knew like, okay, I had people in mind who might be a good co-host, but never reached out. Never went anywhere with it. Didn't have any full vision of it. Well, I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago or something like that, I started putting way more thought into it again. I was like, okay, who would be good? Who has the energy that I think to help carry a podcast? So then I had reached out to Bleachy, and I was like, yo, I think you'd be a good fit for this podcast.
Oh yeah.
You have good energy. Energy we're looking for, and I think it'd be good.
I'm pretty sure I'm one of the calmest people I know. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying to keep it chill at all times.
And then I was like, okay, well, you know what? Let's also add some diversity. I don't want just a room full of dudes just talking dude things. Okay.
Dude things.
And then I was like, okay, let's see who else. And I was like, of course, Ashley Florida is the first person that came right into my mind.
Your resident lady.
Yes.
Resident lady.
Ashley has been probably my longest Twitch friend of all time. I think, honestly, I remember the first time I watched your stream actually was when it was like the weekend we got Kiwi, my cat.
Really?
Yeah. I remember watching you. And I was like, yeah, and you asked me like how am I doing? I'm like, oh, good. I just got a cat, just this weekend got a cat. So I remember that. So I was like, of course, Ashley Florida. Everybody knows Ashley. Talkative person, very friendly person, perfect fit for the podcast as well.
So when you asked me to be part of the podcast, I asked you why, and although I kind of figured it was because you needed a girl, I found it funny that you said that I could carry any conversation. I was like, okay, so I talk too much. Perfect fit.
It's not always a bad thing. So again, thank you guys to be in here. So this is the core team, me, Ashley, and Bleachy here. And then we started brainstorming about ideas. We had some ideas. I don't have them in front of me, some of the other ideas, but eventually we came to Arcade Parlor. And the reason we came up with this idea was, I think the main central thing that brings us all together is we all enjoy video games in some capacity. So we wanted something that was like a call out to video games, but also just a lounge, if you will. Just like a cool place to hang out. It's with a video game atmosphere. So eventually one thing led to another, and eventually we came up with the Arcade Parlor. So I looked up online. I was like, okay, nobody else has the name Arcade Parlor. This is what we're doing right here. I had to go look.
Steal it, man.
Yeah. I think the only thing I found Arcade Parlor linked to was back like 15 years ago. There was a small virus called Arcade Parlor.
Are you
that
serious?
was going around on people's computers. Yeah. Like 15 years ago, and then it was eliminated, and it's never been talked about since.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the other kind of virus, and I was really confused why they would name a virus Arcade Parlor.
Another pandemic like 15 years ago.
Gamer virus.
No, it was like a computer virus of some sort called. So if you Google Arcade Parlor, you will get that, but they're like 15-year-old articles.
We're bringing it back.
Yeah, we're bringing it back. We'll Google will index us higher one day, I'm sure.
One day. But for now, try not to get a virus on your computer when you look us up.
Yes, try. Yeah, don't only download from the RSS feed, please. Don't download from anywhere else. So that's Arcade Parlor. That's kind of how we got here, how we got our name, of course. And then I went one step further. I said, guys, what if we made this a little more personal? What if people know us by our Twitch tags? But at least in my opinion, if I'm listening to a podcast, I like to know people's names.
Holy cow.
That's just me. I feel like I can connect better, if that makes sense. So I put out the question. I was like, what do you guys think about dropping names? And Ashley was vehemently against it.
I was.
She did not want to do it at all. She's like, no way, I'm not giving out my first name.
It made me almost feel like separated because I never really thought about having my personality encaptured in my Twitch handle. I just was like, okay, I'm Ashley. And at the time I lived in Florida, I was like, that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. I see other Twitch people all the time. You can blatantly tell, okay, they just put their first name followed by like 6 numbers or something like that. I see it all the time from chatters. And nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Nice and creative.
Yeah. So, of course, I waited for Bleachy's view. I was fine with that. I'm like, you know what? There are so many people out there that run big websites. I mean, the top Twitch streamer, everybody knows their names in IRL. Even like smaller ones. I was like, who really cares? Right? Who cares? So I put it out there. Everybody agreed. Let's go ahead and head this direction. So with that said, Ashley, Florida, what is your real name? Your first name?
My real first name, drumroll please,
Drumming.
is Ashley with 2 E's and no Y.
How crazy. Incredibly unique. Never would have guessed.
I do get that question a lot though. Is that like a euphemism or do you really spell your name that way? That'd be a weird thing to just change one letter of your name for the internet. But no, my real name is actually Ashley, Florida.
Just trying to evade those agents up there. It's like, okay, I know exactly which letter I need to change around so they can't detect me.
Exactly.
Why?
It is a unique spelling. I mean, I'm sure every time you have to say it, you have to spell it out, right?
Oh, I still have.
When you're talking on the phone.
I have aunties. I'm 34 years old. I still have aunties and uncles who, on my birthday cards, spell it with a Y. So
that's how you know who truly loves you.
It's true.
Yes.
And people come into my stream where you could clearly see the way I spell my name and still spell it with an EY. I'm thinking about making some kind of a bot that just auto times people out when they spell my name wrong. What do you think?
Permaban.
I think that's the way to do it. Just perma-ban them.
I know I was the big name reveal everyone was waiting for, so I hope I didn't disappoint anyone.
I'm sure our listeners are thrilled. All right, Bleachy. Go ahead, buddy.
It's finally come. It's come to this moment. So anyways,
not that you've ever doxed yourself on stream before.
My birth name is actually Bleachy. For those of you who don't know. But I was given the nickname around, I don't know, like 12 years into my lifespan of Jackson. My actual, not the real name, but the name that I go by is Jackson.
That's a great name.
And it's just Jackson. You don't go by Jack or anything.
I don't
right?
actually. I was if you couldn't tell, I was kidding about the fact that my actual name's Bleachy. My parents originally they gave me the name Jackson, but they wanted to call me Jack. But then nobody else would call me Jack. Just everybody would be like, "Oh, it's little baby Jackson. Oh, this guy's it's such a baby Jackson." My parents are like, "Okay, well, we messed up on accident." So yeah, it's Jackson through and through.
All right. Well, Jackson, it's lovely to meet you.
You too.
Great to meet you, Jackson.
I feel honored.
I guess that means it's my turn. Me, in case you guys forgot, Pancho Taco. My IRL birth name, my Christian name, if you will, is actually David. I'm yet another Dave Mario streamer. I feel like there's quite a few of them. At least I've heard people say there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, wait, who else is there?
Well, there's obviously DGR, I think the biggest one. There's other one. I'm blinking out who there were. There's at least like one or two other ones that I know of, that kind of circle around there that I see come up periodically. And I'm totally blinking out. And they might even be in the SMW as well, community.
You go by Dave IRL, right?
IRL, I typically go by David, but I don't really care. Usually my friends call me Dave, if that makes sense. Well, but really? Everybody else is usually David. Like professionally at work, I go by David. My family, just my dad calls me Dave. Everybody else calls me David.
I want to be your dad.
So you guys, whatever you guys want, I don't really care. I go by both. In fact, actually, most of my life, people called me by my brother's name. Most of my life. He's 10 years older than me. We went to the same like high school and everything, and all the teachers, they were all the same, of course. They would all call me by his name. I don't understand how people do that, but over 10 year difference, and I'm still being called my brother's name. I eventually just started responding to it. I was just like, whatever. That's my name now, I guess.
I have to say I'm thankful for the Bleachy Bee because Jackson is so much more interesting of a name than David and Ashley.
Are you kidding me? That's like the most common name on planet Jupiter.
I think it's common with your age group, right? Yeah. That's what it is. It wasn't common at all. It was an old time name, right? Jackson, old, and then it's coming back again. It came back again at some point.
I'm an old timey Zoomer. That's what's going on.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So, David, did you have like a million other Davids in your classroom? Because I was born in 1988, and I think Ashley was one of the most popular names, and there was always like 5 Ashleys in every class I ever had.
I don't think I did. I don't think throughout my high school I even knew another David. Maybe I might have known, maybe back in elementary there was. Not in my class, but like in another grade or something like that. But I don't think in high school, actually, now that I think about it, I can't think of another one. Even with how common my name is. Yeah,
I know plenty of Davids that are my age that I like went to high school with and went to elementary school with and whatever. But that's kind of odd. Maybe it didn't infect Michigan like it did other places of the world. I don't know.
What about you, though, Jackson? Did you have any other Jacksons in your school?
Dude, oh, my goodness. So many Jacksons. Every single day, I'd hear somebody like 50 feet away be like, "Yo, Jackson!" And I just learned not to respond to it because every single time they're talking to somebody else. It was so frustrating. But then there'd always be that one time when somebody would say, "Yo, Jackson," and they would be talking to me. And it'll make me feel so special. Like, oh, wow. It's me this time. This is amazing.
You know, I do the same thing when someone says Ashley. I never actually look because I'm just so used to it not being me.
Yeah, I feel like Ashley is one of the most common names for women. Like, it's got to be one of the most common ones.
I agree with you. I've met so many Ashleys. Not a lot that spell it the same way as me, but a lot of my close friends and family just call me Ash, which I'm totally cool with because I'm a big Pokemon fan. So.
Oh. Miss Ketchum.
Miss Ketchum.
Can I just say it's weird saying your own name out loud. Because I never say my name out loud. It's weird to say my own name out loud.
For sure.
Well, I've been streaming.
I mean, you say your name all the time, though, Ashley.
I do. I say Ashley Florida all the time. I've been streaming for 2.5 years now, so I think it was probably really weird for me in the beginning, but not so much now. But it is really weird to call you both David and Jackson.
No, that's the thing is, like, I've called myself Bleachy, like, not only just on, like, Twitch, but also just in other just friend circles and whatsoever, just growing up for the past few years. So that's kind of the name that, the second name that I've had that's, like, even grown more outside of a nickname. So reverting to Jackson, especially here in just a podcast setting, is kind of, it's going to take some getting used to. I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's weird. So I think I've heard you talk about it before, but where did Bleachy come from?
And what is the B?
Yeah.
I'm not going to reveal the B. The B does stand for something. That's not happening. It's not happening anytime soon. Okay. Bleachy though. I'll talk about that. I think it was in 7th grade. I was in a science class and we were just doing some lab. We were doing some experiment. One of my super tall friends just goes over, picks up a bottle of bleach, and he's like, "Hey, dude, I found your hair product." That's so funny. And everybody in the class is like, "Oh my gosh, what a cool joke!" Because this guy has like blonde hair, and he held up a bleach bottle, and Bleachy just stuck for forever and ever. I don't know why, but there it is.
You do have very, very blonde, probably the blondest hair I have ever seen IRL.
It definitely is. I used to try and convince people that, like, I actually did bleach my hair, and they'd be like, "No, wait, no, show me the roots of your hair." And I just show them and be like, "Nah, I do it really well. I've just done it my entire life. I do it really well. This ain't natural. This is just straight bleach." I convince some people.
So what about you, Poncho Taco? Where did Poncho Taco come from?
My name came from high school as well. It was something in my English class. My teacher would, like, every once a week we had journal entries to do. I think our senior year or something like that. And there would always be a topic of discussion, or like a topic that we had to do every Friday or something like that in our journals. And we'd do a 1-page journal on it at the beginning of class for like 15 minutes. We'd all work on it, a little notebook, or like half page, at least like 6 sentences or something like that. And my friend, it was something like writing a poem or something, but instead he like wrote some weird rapish type thing about a dude wearing a poncho and putting tacos in it.
Wow.
And that the idea just stuck with me years later when I made a username somewhere. For some reason, I don't know why that stuck with me.
Just infatuated by the idea of Poncho Man with tacos in it. That's
yes.
That's amazing. That's touching.
You didn't even come up with Poncho Taco. You stole it from someone in high school.
The idea was implanted via somebody else. So that's where my name comes from.
What an origin.
Yeah. It's a great origin, I think.
No, I like the name for sure. It flows off the tongue nice and well. Poncho Taco.
That's right. Poncho Taco. Okay, so we've gotten the big thing out of the way. I know we wanted to make it the podcast a little bit more personal for those who are listening. So now they have our names, and I guess they can call us that name if they really want. I don't know. So that's Arcade Parlor. This project we've been discussing, the three of us, for the past few weeks, probably a little north of a month now. Yeah. We've been discussing it in talks about it. One other thing, though, what I would like to open up, obviously month to month, depending on if it works out, is to have a guest from the community. We talked about it in the trailer just for a moment. A fourth rotating chair, if you will. Somebody who could come in and, sit that seat. Who'd be willing to, open up about themselves, and we can ask questions, just see how they are, how they fit in with the community and everything. And I know we have a lot of people who watch us, fellow streamers, or just people who are in chat, stuff like that, that would be, I bet, more than available to do something like that and just have a good time here on the podcast with us as well. So I'm hoping that next month we can have our first person. I'm starting to put some thought into that, who our first person would be for that. So hopefully next month we'll have our fourth rotating chair, and then going forward we can kind of continue that.
Would you be
speaking of?
Would you be willing to hear from the community on who they might want to see and hear on Arcade Parlor?
Yep, exactly, 100%.
And don't say like politicians or anything. They have to actually like be part of the community.
We're not going to have like President Joe Biden come on here, and we're gonna ask him, what do you think of someone who eats toilet paper on the street?
Shut up.
Do we know anyone like that?
The current state of America is in the hands of this man.
Right, exactly. Oh man. Speaking of which, since we're talking about the community, I was going to talk about this later, but let's talk about it right now. We talked about just a little bit ago, arcadeparlorcast.com. You can go there, you can find a landing page. It'll take you to an invite into our Discord, as well as a social media link to all of our platforms, and the link directly to our RSS feed. Also, we have opened up an email. If you guys want a topic of discussion for us to talk about, or you just have a general question for us and you would like us to answer that live on a podcast, you can send an email to email@arcadeparlorcast.com. That's email@arcadeparlorcast.com. Send it there. We'll read through it, and you might be featured on one of our future podcasts.
Wow.
In addition to an email, if you would like to leave something a little more grandiose than an email, we have opened up a phone number that you can call in and leave a voicemail for us. That phone number is 402-915-1082. Again, that's 402-915-1082. Call in. It'll take you directly to voicemail. Leave a voicemail. We'll get it. And we'll play the voicemail on stream, and then we will discuss whatever is brought up on that voicemail.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I think that'll be a fun feature. Fun way to get people involved if they want.
Quite a few of our viewers who I think would not be shy to call in and leave us a fun voicemail of questions or topics to discuss.
And who knows, maybe we'll open something up for a live one someday. We'll see. That's down the line. Maybe we'll do something like that.
That could get chaotic pretty fast, which I am always down for.
Yes, always down for.
It's just it's great how diverse our community is too. I think it would be such an awesome feature to hear from everyone that we get to interact with on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think it'll be just a great way to bring everybody even closer in the community. I think it'd be awesome to hear from people in that way. Okay, so I think we've established what Arcade Parlor is. There's a couple other groundwork I think would make sense for this, but let's get to that maybe a little bit later here. A little bit more groundwork just for establishing the podcast. But let's just talk about games for a minute if you guys want.
Yo, I love games.
I'm a big fan.
Dude, games are great.
They are.
Gaming is back, is what they're saying these days. It's back.
Oh, for sure.
In a big way.
Yeah. What are you guys playing? I obviously we're all on Twitch, right? We're on Twitch. A lot of us we found each other through like Mario Maker essentially, right? That's where our main base was. And then we're also playing other games periodically, some variety stuff as well. But off stream, are you guys playing anything like ever, or do you guys mostly do all your video games on stream?
I feel like I personally hear a lot of streamers that say they don't really game off stream. Mm-hmm. They really just do the bulk of their gaming on Twitch with other people, turn the camera on as soon as they want to play a game. Not the case for me, at least. I am currently doing my fourth 100% playthrough of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, mostly off stream.
Wow.
And by 100%, that's what, all 900? Is it 900 Korok seeds?
It is 900 Korok seed puzzles. So if I'm doing the math right, what is that? If between 4 playthroughs that are 100%, it'll be 3,600 Koroks that I've done in that game.
Wow.
Hundreds and hundreds of hours. So I'm a big Zelda fan. Anyway, I've played every
Are you sure about that? I don't think you're that big of a Zelda.
I've played every console Zelda game there is, beat all of them but one. So I
What's
just
the
love
one you
the
haven't
game.
beat?
The one I haven't beat is the first Hyrule Warriors.
Oh.
I just got bored.
Yeah, I'll forgive you on that. I'll forgive you as someone who has not beaten all the Zelda games, I guess.
It was a tough one to get through and I just couldn't do it. But I've put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into Breath of the Wild because I enjoy it so much. It was so different from the other ones and such an open world concept that's what I'm doing in my free time. You just get lost in the game. It's so beautiful and it's so fun. You can just do whatever you want whenever you want. So that's what I'm currently playing off of twitch.tv.
Honestly, I love Breath of the Wild too. It's such a good game. I still remember like the first time I played it. Like when I saw the trailers for it and whatever, I had some friends who were like, "Oh my goodness, this is going to be an amazing game," and I'm like, "It's Zelda. Who cares?" And then my friend was like, "Hey, you want to play the intro just on my Switch?" I'm like, "Oh, sure, whatever. I'll try it out." Instantly hooked. Just it's so beautiful, so crisp. You said it perfectly, Ashley. It's unlike anything that the gaming industry has ever seen. It's already impacted the gaming industry so much. It's such a good game, and of course it has its flaws and whatever, but I'm willing to look past them most of the time. It's wonderful. Totally recommend if you haven't played it.
Yeah, I was just looking it up. That game came out 5.5 years ago.
You believe that?
That's crazy.
And when the game came, when they first announced Breath of the Wild, I instantly pre-ordered the game. And then the game got delayed so many times that it didn't come out for 5 years. And then they announced Breath of the Wild 2, and it's looking like it's going to be the same exact thing. Another 5-year gap between the two games. I know, it's tough to hear, but hopefully it's as amazing and innovative as the first one was and worth the wait.
I wonder, because this was a launch title for Switch, if I remember right? It launched, or like maybe it was right behind the corner. I can't remember.
It was right after the launch of Switch. It was
right after.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because they still put it out for Wii U and for Switch. Because I had it pre-ordered for the Wii U.
Right, and you switched that, or you changed your pre-order to Switch, or did you get the Wii U version?
I was so angry at Nintendo because I bought the Zelda version of the Wii U just for Breath of the Wild, and I waited years, and then by that time they had the new system out, so I kept my order on the Wii U, and then I got a Switch the next Christmas and Breath of the Wild, so I did my first playthrough on Wii U. I still have that file, and the other 3 have been Switch playthroughs.
I got it on, so I didn't get the Switch day one, because if you didn't pre-order it, you weren't getting it anywhere. So eventually I got it, and the only way to get a Switch in decent timing was, of course, to get a bundle or something like that. And luckily the bundle had like 2 controllers, something that I want with a Nintendo console, especially you want 2 controllers, I feel like. It came with like Zelda, and then I think whatever the Bomberman was at the time. I was like, well, Bomberman, I had a lot of good times with Bomberman back in the day. I'll pick it up. I never played it. But it came with that, and I was like, okay, I don't feel as bad buying this. It came with at least, Zelda, two sets of Joy-Cons. I think it maybe even came with a Pro controller or something. I was like, okay, these are all things I was going to buy eventually. This is all. I didn't feel too bad about going that way with it.
We love a good bundle pack.
Yeah. A good bundle pack is great. What about you, Bleach? You playing anything?
I am. Unlike Ashley, most of my gaming is done on stream. I don't think I have the 100% content mind, but a lot of the time I'm like, yeah, if I'm going to be playing something, I might as well have some viewers tagging along, watching me while I play it. That being said, I have jumped or at least dipped my toes back into Elden Ring as of recent.
Really?
I played the game for like a good week or so when it first came out, and then it got really hard, and then I had finals. It was finals week, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna shelf this for a little bit, and I've only just come back to revisiting it, and I started over from the very beginning, and it's a good game for sure. I think I haven't got to the end of the game, which a lot of people have concerns about, just saying it's too difficult, which is pretty crazy for the bar that they've already set for difficulty in those kind of games. But that's what I've been playing right now. A little bit of Elden Ring just from the very beginning. It's a good experience.
So I've never played Elden Ring, but I've heard when you do come up against those walls, people the way that they've designed the game is when you do come up against those walls where you just can't beat it. Apparently, you just go off and come back later, and you can beat it like easily.
Yeah,
that's the way they designed that game.
That's what's so nice about that game is like so much of it is centered around exploration, and there's just such a gigantic world to explore, and there's just so many different kind of enemies that you can defeat, and so many different areas that you can encounter. So if you do come against a wall, yeah, you can just goof off for a few hours or something like that, come back, and boom, you're 10 levels higher, and you're able to easily beat a boss using only your skill and all of the intellect you have.
I was listening to somebody, they were talking about Elden Ring, and they were like, even though that's true, you come back and you can suddenly one-shot enemies, for example. The threat is still there, though. Like, they can totally mess you up if you make one mistake, though, which is still a cool dynamic. You come back overpowered, but you still have that reality that these guys could just whoop you in like one hit, right? You're dead. The person I was listening to, they were talking like, yeah, I came back to this area. I was on horseback and I was just mowing down everybody. But he's like, the moment that I got thrown off that horse, though, I was like dead in an instant.
The horse is nice in that game for sure.
Yeah, it looks cool. I haven't played it. I don't know if I will. The From games don't. I don't have the time to dedicate to From games. How's that? To get good. I don't have that time anymore.
That's fair.
I tried my hand at Elden Ring a little bit. I don't know if you guys remember or were there for that time in my life.
Yes.
So, I first played Dark Souls during my 24-hour stream that I did a little over a year ago, just because it was so highly requested and it was kind of a goof. So when Elden Ring came out, I got the game for no reason. And I have to say, as somebody that really didn't dabble in any of the Dark Souls games, I really just found the game so beautiful. I almost had as much fun playing the game as I did exploring, because I just was taken aback by how gorgeous the whole landscape and world was, and even the enemies that you fight.
Yeah, the attention to detail in that game is pretty astounding. And just the amount of thought that is put into the actual world creation and just the different things that you could try and nitpick it's on a different level for sure.
And I hate the comparison of saying, oh, this is this type of game, right? And the comparison's always like, oh, this is like the Dark Souls of this genre, right? But I have heard people say they haven't had this type of amazement with the game since Breath of the Wild. When Elden Ring came out, they were like, this is Breath of the Wild vibes of exploration. I think it's, from what I understand, it's way bigger than Breath of the Wild and more detailed, which I mean would make sense after, additional more, as technology advances and stuff like that. But I've heard that people said they haven't had this amazement with a video game since Breath of the Wild.
It gave me those
I think
vibes
that's
too.
Cool.
It gave me the same vibes when I started playing the game. I felt the same way I felt when I first played Breath of the Wild, that total astonishment with the game environment. You just get so engrossed in it. So as someone who's a gigantic Breath of the Wild fan, I felt the exact same way during my playthrough.
That's really cool. What have I been playing? Offline, I've actually been doing kind of more passive games, if you will.
Really?
If I'm watching a stream at night, I might play a game like Peglin the background, which it's like a roguelike game, but it's also just playing What are those games? Like a
Peggle, pachinko.
Yeah, Peggle, pachinko machine type thing, but it's kind of roguelike based. It's really cool. You get like these, you get like different, like I don't know, elemental ball or something like that each time, and some are just a rock, some have flames or something like that, and you just kind of drop it where you want, and it falls down like a little pachinko machine, and you're trying to knock out certain. No. As many times as it's hitting things, you're gaining additional hit points, and then at the top of the screen you have monsters on the right hand that are slowly progressing towards you, and then every time your ball finally makes it down to the bottom, that kind of determines how much damage you do by the time it gets to the bottom, like how many obstacles it's hitting on the way down there. And after each turn, those monsters slowly get closer to you. So it's just a passive. I mean, it's a lot of luck based, just something that you can just kind of turn your brain off and just play. But it's fun to do if you're like watching a stream, watching a video on the side or something like that. I really like it.
There's not like a lot of user action or thought that really goes into playing a game like that.
There's only some. I mean, if I remember right, you always throw at the same strength. But you're all the way on the left, so you have to figure out how to arc your shots and stuff like that to try to manipulate the ball to go down the right direction you want.
Okay.
But again, it's still a pachinko thing, and there's bombs mixed in there so that if you hit a bomb, it could just launch you to the complete other side that what you were wanting to do. But sometimes you want the bombs because they give you additional damage and stuff like that. So there is some strategy behind it.
I think I've seen you play stuff like that, Bleachy. Am I right?
Yeah, I played Peglin on my stream. It was a while ago, but I really do enjoy games like that are more passive, that are kind of like, I guess, based around just being a turn-based game, and you're always playing against AI, so you never feel incredibly rushed or like you have to do anything. So it might require a little bit more mental energy than Peglin or something like that, but you can just take it at your own pace, take it at your own time. You can have it on in the background or have something else on in the background. Those are always fun to sink your teeth into, and I think Peglin is a good choice for a game like that just because it is unique. It's combining two different types of games together that just haven't been combined together before.
Mm-hmm. And the roguelike element to it is great because your runs are different every time. Every time you play it, you get different of like the rocks that you throw and stuff like that. It's always different every single time. And then the random enemy generation stuff. I just like the roguelike genre. It's great for quick runs typically. And some are designed to be longer, of course. One that comes to mind is Returnal that they put out on PlayStation 5. It's a roguelike, but you're going to be playing minimum like 2 hours per run if you have a decent run. Yeah. So, which is, in my opinion, I think that they did finally patch in a pause option, which they did not have before.
Wow.
Or like a resume type thing. But it used to be, they initially made it kind of like what Dark Souls or Demon Souls had done in the initial one, where you can't pause in this game. That's like a staple thing of the Souls genres that you cannot pause, right? You hit start, you have your menu, but the game is still playing.
Right.
And you're getting attacked. So they introduced that into there. I think eventually they did put a patch where, because people really wanted it because the runs were so long for a roguelike, eventually they gave in and said, okay, you can pause and step away. But it was like a 2 hour thing. And that's what kind of made me stop playing it initially. But I've kind of want to pick it back up again.
For sure. I mean, when it comes to a game, if I have to dedicate 2 hours of my time to it, I'm probably not playing that game. Like, I'm willing to play it for 2 hours, like if it comes to it, but I don't ever want to sit down and be like, okay, I'm playing one singular run for the next 2 hours. I think League of Legends is a game that comes to mind that's kind of similar to this, where I totally see how it's as popular as it is, and I totally see how it's as successful as it is. But it's really, I just cannot get into a game like that because it's a game where I have to be thinking and on my feet for a minimum of an hour at a time. And there's very few times in my day where I actually feel like I could dedicate that amount of time to it,
and
without wanting to pull away for a bit.
I feel like you actually sometimes really do end up spending that amount of time with a game, but to have the expectation of it, I feel like is mentally exhausting before you even start.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, I agree. It's that's one reason outside of Returnal, I guess. One reason why roguelikes really work for me, especially being, a dad who could have to step away at any minute for whatever reason. A dad to a toddler. Roguelikes are very good for me right now when I'm not dedicating time to like playing on stream or something like that. That's typically the best fit for me right now.
Yeah.
Or something like, I don't know, like maybe like a Mario game. Something easy where it's like the levels are short. A level typically takes you like 3 minutes maybe at the most or something like that. Offline or at night, obviously I have more time to do stuff like that, but that type of genre typically works better for me. Can I talk about how cool I've talked about it before, and it's almost a joke because I talk about it so much. Can I talk about how cool the Mister is?
Yes,
that I have?
please, because I am getting one because of you.
Are you?
Yes.
This thing is so cool. If there's any listeners who have not heard me just rave about this Mister, I'm unhooking it right now because this thing is sick. It literally looks like, I mean, I don't have a case because supply is so low right now. I think they're supposed to be getting cases in October that I'm going to purchase from them. But it literally just looks like, I don't know, a mini computer right now. It's unshelled. I have my USB stuff sticking out of there, my Wi-Fi and stuff. But if anybody's not familiar with the Mister, basically what it's doing is it's taking what you know as an emulator, like on your computer. If you download like BSNES, RetroArch, I think is probably the closest example to this. Like RetroArch is a wrapper of many emulators.
Yeah.
But emulating on your PC is different than this. When you emulate on your PC, you're getting software emulation, which you lose some accuracy with. But when you have this Mister, it's based off of FPGA technology is what they call it. I don't remember what that stands for, but FPGA technology, and it's actually emulating the hardware. So it's like at an electrical level, it's doing emulation. It brings accuracy as close as possible to actually having legit hardware. It's not 100%. That's almost impossible to replicate, but it's always getting improved. It's extreme. One example similar, if you've ever heard of the Super NT,
yes,
made by Analog, they came out with basically a thing like this. But it's only for Super Nintendo, unless you mod it. It might be able to open up more to that. But it's doing FPGA technology, but it's kind of like a plug and play solution. This Mister is definitely not plug and play. You got to buy all the parts individually, assemble it, install the software, run scripts on it to get it up and running. But it'll emulate literally like anything older than a PlayStation 1. We're talking like even like Apple II computers. It'll emulate all that type of stuff, which is really sick. So I've been playing a lot of this on stream lately, just going back and retro stuff, and I'm absolutely loving this thing. It's not cheap by any means. It'll run you almost $400 for it to build it with current costs of hardware and stuff, but this thing is awesome. I absolutely love this thing, and I have like the entire Genesis library, Super Nintendo, NES, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advanced, and then some PlayStation 1 games on there too. And it runs all of them beautifully. It's great. I love this thing.
So David, on the Mister, for people who aren't as technologically sound as you, in layman's terms, it really just means that you're going to get less lag than you would if you were emulating something on a software program such as a RetroArch, which is what I used to use.
Right. Yep. And there is a little bit, I mean, you do have the digital conversion to HDMI, which can introduce some lag, but this compensates for it pretty well. This thing, if you really want this to be as accurate as possible, you're going to hook it up to a CRT and use like an analog video. And then you're going to get basically what you would get out of actually hooking up a Super Nintendo. It'd be near impossible to tell the difference from an eye or just the feeling. And it's also one of those things that like you play emulators, and they emulators are great. Don't get me wrong; they're great to run on your computer. But the second you play with this, you notice the difference immediately. Like, it's so small, but it's like, this just works. I don't know. It's really cool. Really cool to see. So I like this thing. This is probably the coolest piece of tech I have in my house right now.
And you put a lot into it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of research. It's pretty easy to set up. There's like some scripts you just put on there and you run it, and it downloads everything for you and installs all the different cores and stuff like that. But this thing is really cool. If anybody is interested, they can always reach out to me or something like that, or email at arcadeparlorcast.com. Okay.
For sure.
I'll automate a response that has all the links of what you need to buy. How's that?
All of your Mr. needs.
Yes. Let's see. Any other gaming things? Anything else you guys are playing that you want to talk about?
Off stream,
on stream. I don't care. Whatever you want.
Well, I just wanted to mention
what games you playing.
That I just recently jumped back into emulators. Like, I'm just playing a few games on stream, and yeah, that lag thing, very real. Like, I don't even have to own a Mister to know that, like, I'm experiencing a little bit of lag, just not too much to not make it fun, but enough for it to be noticeable. So there's definitely a pretty big reason to get a Mister.
It's cool. And the only reason I was originally looking for a Super NT, but Analog only makes a batch like once a year these days, probably around the holidays. And if you can get one, I mean, I assume they're going to go out quick. So then, I was looking, well, like, okay, what do these costs used? And the Super NT is used on eBay. They run about the same price as me just building one of these. So I was like, okay, well, let me just build a Mister, and I can do so much more with it, with all the other cores like Sega, Genesis, and all that stuff like that. So I was like, if I'm going to be spending that type of money, I might as well make something that I can do way more with.
And I personally have to say, I'm very much enjoying the retro content on your stream, Pancho Taco, with the Mister. And it's just, I feel like it opens up such an amazing world of like so many different things that you can do. And I'm seeing you play games that I played as a 4 and 5-year-old for the first time ever, that I've been playing for almost 30 years, and you're doing first playthroughs. And even Bleachy right now, you're playing Majora's Mask, and I think that game came out when I was 12. So it's really cool to see people's first reactions and gameplay to games that, you know, we didn't have Google or anything or the walkthroughs or anything when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So you were figuring stuff out for a decade before you beat these games. And I watched Pancho Taco beat Disney's The Lion King for Sega Genesis, a game that took me 18 years to beat, and you beat it in a couple of streams.
That game was an adventure.
That Lion King playthrough, my goodness, that looked hard, man.
Well, the thing is that, like, so this was also a day where, like, they didn't detail all the controls in the game. Like, today you can go in and you can look up like all your move sets, right, in basically any game. Apparently this was put out back in the day when they put all your move sets in the manual. So you had to have the manual, which luckily somebody in the community sent it to me. It was like, hey, here's the manual. And I looked it up. I was like, oh, so I can do this in this game? How was I? It was like push these 3 buttons together or something like that. And you can now do this. I was like, how was I supposed to know that? And then the final boss was something else, just even having to know what to do there. You just had to know ahead of time.
Just a totally different game mechanic that they don't show you in the entire game. Mm-hmm. And they just expect you to figure out a combo of like 3 different buttons that you have to push just for the one boss with absolutely no context.
And that's what makes it so good.
The content. No, I did enjoy it though. I like my playthrough of it overall. It was a fun game, and I like those older games. The level of detail they put into the animations and stuff like that. Like, it's awesome. Like how animated Simba was, as well as the other animals as well. Like there's a cool level of detail that they put into those older games. That, I mean, I know nowadays games are way more detailed, obviously, but back then, what they were able to put on the Super Nintendo, like that, I think that's pretty cool. Or the Genesis also.
Always impresses me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. There was one thing I was going to talk about too when we were, and I just came back to mind about Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild. One coincidence I want to bring up. I assume you guys have heard of the Horizon games, Horizon Zero Dawn,
Yes.
and what is the new one? They just came out earlier this year. Forbidden West.
Right. Yeah.
Is that it? Okay.
Something like that.
Both times that game came out, a week later, a way more massive game came out, and everybody forgot about it. Like,
So true.
Horizon Zero Dawn came out, 1 week later, Breath of the Wild came out, and nobody remembered Zero Dawn anymore. And then the same exact thing, like 5 years later, happens. They release Forbidden West, and then Elden Ring comes out 1 week later, and everybody forgets about it. Like, I feel bad. Those games are good from what I understand. The first one did not click with me at all. I couldn't stand it at all. But I can appreciate the art and what the game is. And then I know a lot of people like it, but I thought it was kind of funny that they released their two huge games and then they get blown out of the water a week later by some other release. Like the exact same story two times in a row.
Think about how many millions of dollars that game lost strictly because of when the game came out. Like if it would have been released even a month earlier, there could have been so many more sales. The IP could have been just that much stronger amongst fans. It's kind of sad, but at the same time, yeah, pretty funny.
Yeah. It's like, and even just think about like the live aspect of it on like Twitch or something like that. As soon as Elden Ring came out, like everybody dropped literally everything to play it. Like,
oh yeah,
Elden Ring was the biggest for probably weeks. I think it was like even beating like Fortnite and stuff like that for a long time because it's such a massive release.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I wasn't watching Twitch much when Breath of the Wild came out, but I'm sure it was probably similar then. Everybody dropped everything to play Breath of the Wild, but that was pre my time coming on, really spending time watching people on Twitch.
Yeah.
But it just something that came to mind that I thought was really funny.
I mean, the games just got buried by two of the biggest releases that we've seen in the last part of the greater 5 years.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I guess indirectly we've kind of talked about what I've been playing on stream, just a lot of retro stuff. Right now I'm trying to 100% Yoshi's Island, which I've never 100%ed before, so I'm looking forward to playing that some more. I've beaten the game many times, but I've never gone for 100%. And it's been over at least a decade since I last played it, so there's a lot of it that's coming back to me, and I'm like, oh, dude, I remember this part. This part's awesome. So I really like that game a lot. So that's what I'm playing right now, at least on stream.
I'm having a lot of fun watching you play that game too, because it's one of my gaming sins that I never played Yoshi's Island, and I've played a lot of the older Mario games for sure. They were the first game I ever beat in my life was Super Mario Brothers 3. So to see Yoshi's Island for the first time in your playthrough, Pancho Taco, I'm realizing how much that game influenced future Mario games, especially Paper Mario. It's a big game that I played a lot, and I see so many of the enemies and different versions of the songs from Yoshi's Island in that game and other Mario titles since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen that myself. I think I only played this. I played Paper Mario 2, The Thousand Year Door, and then what was the other one? Super Paper Mario.
Yes,
the one that was more platformy.
Right.
So I didn't get it from the first one, but that's really cool to hear. I still stand by that. I think Yoshi's Island is the best looking Super Nintendo game. There's just so much cool detail and animations going on. I personally think it's the prettiest on my eyes to look at. Just a really good game.
You play it, Jackson?
No, I haven't played that. That's definitely one that I've heard is really good, and I've just like whenever I've like looked at like some of the top 50 best video games of all time, that always makes the list. And I'm like, maybe I should try this out sometime, but I've never gotten around to it. But
that would be a good one for emulator because it doesn't require like the precision and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I would recommend it for emulator. Technically, I think the Game Boy Advance version is the best version of that game because it comes like a little bit more widescreen, if you will, whereas Super Nintendo does not. I'm playing on the Super Nintendo version right now, but I think the GBA is technically the best version of that game that you can get. I think maybe actually the audio isn't as good because it was formatted for Game Boy Advance versus coming out of a TV.
Right.
So I think the only thing that might suffer is the audio experience, if you will. Yeah.
But I completely agree. And just like the few minutes that I watched of your stream when you started up that game, like the aesthetic of that game is amazing for an SNES. It's on an SNES, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Game. It doesn't have to be the most I think that's one of the things, just even in the modern state of gaming, that so many people focus on graphics and just the cleanest graphics and stuff like that. But then you can point out games like this or something like Wind Waker, even, that they're able to just do something unique that isn't maybe the most graphically advanced, but just still looks really good and really clean and sticks with people for years to follow.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, Ashley, you mentioned a little bit ago, greatest video game sins. What is your guys' greatest video game sin? Like, you never played it, everybody in the world has played it, or you just never actually beat the game. You started it and just didn't beat it. What is your greatest, in your opinion, your greatest gaming sin?
Oh man. Here's the thing. I entered this world in the 21st century. I missed out on a lot of really good games that came out beforehand that I just haven't gotten around to either playing or beating. I think most of the original Mario catalog, just original Mario Bros, SMB3, Super Mario World, I haven't beat any of those games. And
wow,
I don't know why I haven't, because I have played so many other Mario titles, but those three specifically, I've kind of just looked at passively, and just I've admired them, I've absolutely respected them, but I haven't gone out of the way to go and beat them. So if I had to say one gaming sin, I guess three, it would be those three.
I guess forgiven because of your age.
That has something to do with it. I would definitely recommend at least Super Mario World. I think that is the best Mario game we've ever seen. And I don't know if I'm looking at that just with rose tinted glasses or anything, but at least I think it's the most replayable Mario game ever made. At least in my opinion. I know you like SMB3 the most.
For sure. My favorite, probably one of my favorite games of all time is Super Mario Brothers 3. I play it often. The replayability for me is high. I also didn't have a Super Nintendo growing up, so I didn't beat Super Mario World until I was an adult. But I can see how people would find that to be their favorite Mario game of all time.
Mm-hmm. And I remember when Super Mario World came out, there was I was listening to a podcast years ago, and they were talking about there was so much hype behind it. When it was announced, like SMW just had so much hype, and it actually delivered on it. One of the few times where like people are going crazy for a game, just wanting to get their hands on it. It came out and it absolutely delivered, and everybody was freaking out. It's the greatest game ever made, and that's awesome to hear. Because I think the previous, at least mainline entry, would have been SMB3, so people are coming off of a high already of a really good game, right?
Yeah, that's unheard of, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for me, my biggest gaming sin, I would say, I have a couple. One is GoldenEye. I have never touched that game in my life, nor have I watched more than 2 minutes of gameplay. I know the pause music better than I know the lore of that game.
And it's great pause music too. It's absolutely great. It's a banger.
So I'd love to play that one day. I'd love to get an original cartridge for my Nintendo 64. And then my next one, which actually Bleachy's the one who made me realize this recently. I have not played any 3D Mario game except for the one playthrough I ever did in my life of Mario 64. Never played Galaxy, Odyssey, none of those games.
Now that's a sin. What are you doing?
That's
my bread and butter.
Odyssey. I think you should play Odyssey. That's a good one.
Is that the one with the moons?
Yes.
I'll consider it.
Okay, you're not just considering this, Ashley. We're going to tie you down until you play through all of Odyssey.
No. I think each of us at some point in our stream should play through our greatest gaming sin game. I mean, at some point. I think we should.
I need to do this. It can't be part of my personality anymore. I need to go. I need to get past this point in my life.
I totally agree.
So for me, my greatest one is never beating A Link to the Past.
Wow.
Really?
That's like everyone's always like, it's the best Zelda game you can play. It still holds up to this day, everyone says.
Yes.
I know I've gotten maybe 2 or 3 temples in, so I'm not very far. And that's probably my greatest gaming sin, is never beating A Link to the Past.
I'd be there for it if you played that game. Not just as a huge Zelda fan, but just to see someone do the playthrough for the first time. It's such an awesome game.
I did play through A Link Between Worlds.
The 3DS game?
With that on 3DS, yes.
Oh, loved that game.
That, and I know the overworld is the same as Link to the Past, same map,
yes.
but I know the game is different though. But they use the same map. But A Link Between Worlds is an amazing game that I don't think enough people played.
I agree with that.
Because it was limited to a 3DS platform.
I loved the whole mechanic of being able to warp and all of that in that game. I had no expectations when I bought it. I just bought it because it was a Zelda game. And it consumed my life for a good couple of months because I thoroughly enjoyed it so much.
I feel like there's quite a few games just on the 3DS that were released that were pretty good, and it's just a shame that that's really not a thing anymore. That kind of portability and that kind of gaming console just isn't a thing, just isn't really normalized, and it seems like gaming's kind of moving past that. So there's definitely games on that platform that I haven't been able to experience and I haven't been able to try that I really want to eventually, because I feel like I'm missing out on some pretty good titles.
And they're closing down like the 3DS eShop and stuff, I think like next year or in 2 years or something like that.
Yeah,
so eventually it'll be whatever hardware is left in, that's still being cycled out there through the used marketplace and stuff.
Right.
That's all that'll be, as eventually will happen with all consoles and stuff. But there won't be any type of digital, like get your last download or something like that anymore. It's, you'll just have to go on eBay and hopefully find a good deal or something like that. So, one other thing I think would be a good thing for us to discuss here for the podcast. I think we need to establish a rating scale here.
A rating scale?
Yeah, a rating scale. I think we should create something like, a 1 through 10 type rating scale. I don't really like 0.5s, stuff like that. I think 1 through 10, but I think we need to like name these things, if that makes sense to you. So for example, we could say, and this would be used for us just talking about games that we're actually playing, be like, okay, how would you rate that on the official Arcade Parlor scale rating system? There's got to be a better name for that, but how would you rate that?
That's the name now.
And you say, oh, that's a 5 out of 10. Be like, okay, 5 out of 10. So you're saying that this is a dumpster fire of a game based off of our rating system. So I think it'd be fun for us to go ahead and list out 10 to 1 what we think a rating system would be and how that would translate to what that number means to us. Starting with maybe 10. 10. I mean, is there anything we could say above like God tier or something like that for a rating system?
We got to come up with something classic. We got to come up with something super good. Take some time.
God tier. That's so good. Like it's like Mount Olympus of games.
It's like you'll never get a 10, right? It'd have to be super special.
We're not using that word ever. Nothing's joining the Pantheon anytime soon.
Right.
Like Pantheon.
I think at least 10. I think God tier has to be 10. I don't know of another thing that would fit for it.
That sounds good.
I'll put God tier for now. What do you guys think a number 1 is? Like literally the worst. You're scraping the bottom of the barrel. There's nothing even being scraped right now. Like what is like the worst? Like if you had to like, if somebody was like, yo, how would you rate circus peanuts? How's that? We were talking about circus peanuts recently, that candy. And obviously that's a 1. I mean, what are we talking about here?
See, I don't want to call it dumpster fire because at least a dumpster fire is interesting.
There's something going on there.
I think a dumpster fire would maybe fit like maybe a 4 or a 3 maybe. What do you think of that?
I like dumpster fire for 3.
You like dumpster fire for 3?
It's
okay,
bad,
like
but there's still just a pinch of interest because it's a fire in a dumpster.
It's a fire.
Okay. I like it. Okay, so a 3 out of 10 is a dumpster fire rating.
I also have a suggestion for 2.
Okay.
Snooze fest.
Snooze fest for 2.
That's a fun
Put
word
it in
to
for
say.
now.
That needs to be normalized.
Snooze fest. Snooze fest for 2. So basically, you're if you're playing a 2 out of 10 game, you're playing it and you're just falling asleep. It's not grasping you at all, right? You're just whatever. This is the most boring thing I've ever played.
What's like a synonym for irrelevant? I feel like 1 would be so bad that it just doesn't even matter.
Let me look it up. Irrelevant synonym.
Pulling out the thesaurus.
There are 46 synonyms.
Gotta get technical. Okay.
What is this? Inconsequential? No, that's too. That's
word.
too good.
It's too wordy.
Inappropos? Inappropos?
Wait, did you say inappropro?
Yeah.
Dude, this is
inappropos is what it says.
Man, this is an assault on my feelings. It's an appropro to the max.
What if just a 1 out of 10 is just like a steaming pile of poop? That's a 1 out of 10.
You had to bring
what do you
poop
think?
into it.
Steaming pile of fecal matter. I like it.
What do we say? That's just what a number 1 equates to.
Writing this down. Steaming pile
of poop.
Writing this down.
Of poop.
I think that's the perfect 1 out of 10. Okay, so what would be under God tier? What do you guys think? So we have a 4 through 9 still. Or just say something that you think could be something that's better than a dumpster fire, but not quite God tier. There's a lot of variation in
A
there.
gray sheet of paper.
This is the equivalent of just a gray sheet of paper.
That's 4.
Would that be like a 4?
That's 4.
A 4 out of 10?
That's 4.
Okay. A gray sheet of paper. Okay.
That was great.
I think that's a good that's a step up above a dumpster fire, just a gray sheet of paper. What about like a just like this is about as interesting as like an eggplant or something like that. Like a vegetable that's just laying there, something stupid. It's about as interesting as an eggplant.
That's a good one for 5.
You think so?
I think that's so middle, like
just eggplant.
It just exists, right?
Right?
It's not offensive. It's nothing amazing. It's just an eggplant.
Just an eggplant.
Put an eggplant for 5. Going down on the list.
This is the equivalent of an eggplant.
Dude, eggplants are gross, man. I'm gonna be real.
I know I've had an eggplant, but it's been so long I can't remember what it even tastes like, to be honest.
My very old world Italian family will shun me for saying this, but I do not like eggplant parmesan or eggplant at all.
Oh,
Yeah, eggplant is used a lot in Italian dishes,
oh
right?
my goodness.
Not even with the parmigiana.
I respect that. As the American I am.
What else do you guys think? So we have, starting from 1, we have a steaming pile of poop. Number 2 is a snooze fest. 3 is a dumpster fire. 4 is just a gray sheet of paper.
I love that one.
5 is an eggplant. What's that?
I said I love the gray sheet of paper. That's a great one.
I think it is. I think that's a good one. So we're getting above average now. And this is above average now. We're above 5. So something that's like a little bit more positive, I think, is now what we got to start focusing towards. Positive, but kind of funny.
I feel like 6 should be something like that like a synonym for like piquing your interest?
Interest peaked.
Yeah.
Interest peaked.
Is there like another word? Is there like a single word for something like that?
Just like an eyebrow raise or something.
Yeah, 6 is just called "I'm raising my eyebrow."
That's it. That's
I like
the
that.
one.
I'm raising my eyebrow now. How's that?
Now I like the now. I'm raising
Yes.
my eyebrow.
Now you've got my interest.
Now.
Now I am. Not before. But here we are.
That's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect. Right above average. Okay, I'm starting to raise my eyebrow. This is good. This is good.
How about like possibly replayable?
Possibly. Oh, so like a replayability factor.
Like 7 is like, wow, okay, I could actually see myself enjoying this. It's a 7.
And we could. I mean, could 7 just be a me and Joy?
Yes.
Yes.
Like me and Joy.
Yes.
Me.
Should that be higher than
It's
7?
climbing up the ranks, and I enjoy this.
I feel like 8 and 9 are above me and Joy, though.
Yes, I agree.
They're above it.
Mm-hmm.
What do we have that's above me and Joy? This is going to be hard.
Well, we have God tier, which is like the gold standard, and I think that's pretty. I mean, yeah, I think that's pretty good.
What is between me and Joy and God tier?
What would that be? I'm trying to think of like an abstract idea,
like the feeling of like surprise pizza or something. You know, like you're just so excited about it.
Surprised. An 8 out of 10 is a surprise pizza. I think I could get behind that. I mean, nobody will ever say you have a bad experience with surprise pizza, right?
Every pizza is good pizza, but surprise I think pizza is better.
Yeah. I think that's or what about you got the curly fry in your steak cut fries. The onion ring in the fries. How's that? The onion ring in the fries.
Onion ring in the fries.
Yes. That's what it is. I think that's the 8 right there. Surprise. Everybody loves surprise onion ring in the fries.
In the fries. Perfect. Perfection.
Okay. And then that leaves us one last thing. So what's between God tier and the surprise onion ring in the fries? There's not much room here.
Not much room at all.
I just feel like there's so many games that would go into the 9 category that are just like so close to like God tier is perfection, but if you're skating on the edge of that perfect, what are you doing?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe
Jackson, you got this one.
No, I don't. I can't. I'm trying to think, and I'm farting, dude.
Is that number 9? I'm farting. Dude?
No, that's.
Wait. What about
probably farting?
Taco. It's a clean wipe.
It's a clean wipe. clean wipe.
That's disgusting.
We already have one poop reference. I'm just joking.
The clean wipe is a 9 out of 10 experience.
There's a sense of euphoria with that. I do get it.
That's amazing.
He looks like he's actually considering it.
No, I'm looking up the synonyms for something here.
For clean wipe?
For clean wipe?
No. I'm like Googling like what do people consider under God tier? But then you're getting other things like top tier. I don't want something that's called like top tier. That doesn't make
lame.
sense. That's boring.
That's not us. It's gotta be exciting. I don't know why I keep going to food. I'm like thinking about like
food is exciting. Don't tell yourself otherwise.
The bonus chicken nugget. You know,
this chicken nugget. You got that surprise onion ring. I
know we already have that. We got to move on from food.
The surprise onion ring in the fries.
So good.
Man, I knew the last one, whatever we decide, is going to be the hardest one to figure out.
It's so hard.
I mean, the clean wipe is pretty good. That is pretty good.
Albeit gross. It's
I mean, what if we put the clean wipe down to like a 7 and bump me and Joy and the surprise onion ring in the fries up to an 8 and 9.
That's fair.
I think maybe that's the way to do it.
I'm good with that.
Because I want the surprise onion ring in the fries to be a 9. I think that's pretty top tier.
Almost nothing beats that. Nothing beats this moment.
Besides just God tier.
7 is the clean wipe. Are we in agreement?
Yep.
Perfect.
So, the clean wipe. All right, so for our listeners, I will go through this one more time. At 10 is considered God tier. The number 9 is the surprise onion ring in the fries. Number 8 is me and Joy. 7, the clean wipe. 6, I'm raising my eyebrow now. 5 is eggplant. 4 is a gray sheet of paper. 3 is a dumpster fire. 2 is a snooze fest. And 1 is a steaming pile of poop.
GG, y'all.
This is the official. Hold on. The official arcade parlor rating system. The OAPRS, the OARPs.
Orbs.
No, the OPERS. It's the OPERS, the official arcade part. It's the OPER system. How's that? The OPERS.
The OPER system.
Opers.
Oh, that's OAPRS, OPERS. Okay.
That fit.
We'll say then we'll just say why don't you just OPER that for me? What's your OPER on that? Oh man.
Don't think that could have gone any better.
No. All right, we have our list here. I'll make this shareable to us. I'll also make it shareable to our listeners in the Discord. If anybody wants to ever reference this to see what our rating system is, I will put in the Discord there as well. All right, let me pull up my notes here. All right. Well, I think this is we're coming close to on what our availability is here. So I think we're coming close to ending our very first episode here. There's a couple things before we do go around the room here a little bit. First off, let me just remind you guys, Arcade Parlor, you can find all your resources at arcadeparlorcast.com. That'll take you to a landing page. It has a direct link to our RSS feed. It also has links to our social medias, as well as a Discord invite link. You can go in there. You can hop in the Discord. Discord's gonna be the best way to find updates. We'll be posting there. We'll be interacting with you guys there as well. So definitely jump in that Discord and be part of the community. We'd love it there. Again, we also do offer, coming to our next episode, you can send an email to email@arcadeparlorcast.com. email@arcadeparlorcast.com. Send in a topic of discussion you want us to talk about, or just a question. If you have a question for one of us or for all of us, send it in, and you might be featured in our next episode. And then last but not least, we also are bringing in the voicemail feature. And that phone number, let me pull it up here. That phone number is 402-915-1082. Again, 402-915-1082. You call that, you'll go directly to voicemail. Go ahead and leave your voicemail. We'll listen to it. We'll play it on stream or on our next podcast here, and then we will answer whatever questions or just talk about why this person even called in. whatever the reason you decided to call in for.
I've reacted.
Definitely go there. And this is concluding our final our very first episode of Arcade Parlor. Before we go, we'll go around the room here. Everyone, feel free to self-promo whatever you might be working on. You can self-promo your stream, where we can find you. You can also, what other projects you're working on that you want to get out there that people you want people to listen to. We'll start. Ashley, you want to go ahead?
Sure. You can find me on twitch.tv/Ashley, spelled ASHLEE_FL. It's also my handle for my Twitter and my Instagram. Currently streaming Tuesday and Thursday nights regularly at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm mostly playing Super Mario Maker 2. I throw in a little bit of a weird game called Papers, Please, and I'm also doing some retro Disney stuff at night as well. And you can also find me on TikTok, Ashley with 2 E's _Florida spelled out.
Perfect. Jackson, what about you? What you got going on?
I have so much going on. You can find me at twitch.tv/bleachy_b. I'm streaming at random times because who needs a schedule? That's about it. I mean, I will say this. Both Ashley and I are in the middle of a sub goal for this month of September. So if you are listening to this within the current month, check us out. We're doing some fun things. We're going to be doing some nice challenges together and potentially eating some butter live on stream.
Awesome. And then me, you can find me twitch.tv/Pancho Taco. Just Google Pancho Taco. You'll pretty much find all my links right there, actually. I guess my name is unique enough, and I've been on Twitch long enough that my name just comes up on all the social medias as soon as you Google it, which is easy for me to advertise. But twitch.tv/Pancho Taco, streaming Sundays, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern. A lot of retro stuff right now, getting into some ROM hacks. Of course, GeoGuessr every Sunday night. Always an absolute blast playing that. That's what I got going on. Of course, I'm on TikTok and stuff like that. I post funny clips and stuff. But that's where you can find me. And and starting this month on Mondays, my wife PTW will be playing Until Dawn. So tune in on Mondays on the stream.
Yes.
She'll be playing Until Dawn as part of the sub goal from last month. It's gonna be a great time.
He's a gem.
I'm excited for it. It's a great game. Really fun game. Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us. Ashley, Jackson, thank you so much for joining on this just co-hosting with me on this, our very first episode of Arcade Parlor. We'll see you guys next month.
Yeah, we're glad to be here, and we're glad to stay around. Thank you all for listening in.
A lot.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Yeah.